We are talking about Donald Trump's national emergency declaration today, one of 20 some odd that I counted, 28 that have been done before him. And I know many critics oppose him, and he called one out today. He saluted his good friend Sean Hannity, of course, because the new press secretary used to work for Fox News. And to me, that's a dangerous precedent when a media outlet is so influential over any president, whether it's Democrat or Republican. It's not good for the people. But that's a separate story. What's important is that some people who've been diehard, hardcore conservatives are not happy with the president right now. And he called out Ann Coulter. He said he doesn't know her, which is not true. Why he would say he doesn't know her while mentioning her name is beyond me, but he said he doesn't know her, but she's a critic because her name was brought up by one of those in the press corps to try and, get under his skin. Joining us right now is Ann Coulter. Ann, thank you for being with us on the Savage Nation.
Sure, good to talk to you.
So, Ann, why did the president go out of his way to say he doesn't know you? Don't you know him?
I think it was to relieve me of responsibility for this fiasco. I thank him for that.
But come on, you do know each other, right? You've met many times at Mar-a-Lago. Weren't you in the White House with him a few times?
Actually, it was played for me on radio, and that's the only time I heard it. But I don't think that was really his main point. I don't know Ann Coulter. I mean, he said it's been a year since I've talked to her.
Okay.
And again, to confirm that I have nothing to do with this, Sarah Sanders has now, Huckabee Sanders, has now, confirmed I have no influence in the White House, and I also have no influence on, the Hindenburg, the Titanic. There are many other things. I have no influence on the people doing it.
But why is it that you have become one of his greatest critics? What happened? What's going on here?
Well, look, the American people have never rung such a resounding bell in politics as they did for a wall and immigration control when they elected Donald Trump. I mean, much more than any presidential election you can think of, that was the central issue. It wasn't as if, the argument against Trump was reality TV, and he's coarse, and he has no experience in government. He's Charles Murray. I made fun of him in my book, In Trump We Trust, that Trump was saying some nonsense about Common Core. The people weren't voting for him because, well, he seems like a competent manager. He seems like this is the guy who's going to get. We don't know exactly what.
But in the beginning, you loved him. You wrote In Trump We Trust. You're just disappointed that he's not doing what we all want him to do, which is build that wall and keep them out, right?
Very clear in Trump We Trust that what was so wonderful about Trump during the campaign was the basket of issues he was presenting. And the more the media attacked him, Republicans attacked him, Democrats attacked him, that made him even more attractive. Because we were fed up with Washington, fed up with politics.
But Ann, we know this. You and I agree 100% because I've been on the issue for 25 years, as you know, borders, language, culture. But you become a critic because you say he's fooling us in plain English, right?
He's not building the wall. And he has those signs, the RNC, like usual, their usual idiocy, expecting their voters to be morons. They hold those signs just to taunt us. Finish building the wall. Oh, come on, not Democrats.
But do you actually believe that he's going to build it? It's going to be in the courts for how long now? 3 years?
Not only... I always thought that he could, if you follow my work closely, he doesn't even need an emergency declaration. He could have started day one. He's the commander-in-chief. He has constitutional authority to protect the borders of the United States of America. Right. By signing this bill, let me just say, he has hurt his cause, either to use his powers as commander-in-chief or to declare an emergency, because he just signed a bill that says the commander-in-chief cannot build a wall on the border, that he can only build bollard fences, not the prototype, bollard fences at one small section of Santa Fe, provided he jumps through all.
So we've gone from a medieval wall to speed bumps is what we got now. We're going to get speed bumps.
And we have
and Nancy Pelosi will come along and say the speed bumps are inhumane because the babies may fall out of the carriages as their poor moms push them over the border. But, Ann, are you afraid that inside this bill is amnesty? Isn't that what you're really saying somewhere?
Well, the two big problems with the bill are, number one, it absolutely prohibits the commander-in-chief from building a wall on the border.
Okay, wait. Let me wait. You're saying something intriguingly different. You're saying by having to go to an emergency, he's actually undercut himself.
by signing this bill. It's like, as I've said on Twitter, it's like a criminal who signs a confession and then immediately appeals it. Well, wait a second. Whose name is this? Who signs the confession?
Oh, I can see why you're no longer invited into the Oval Office, and you're too smart for everyone in. You're too smart for everybody in there.
For this emergency declaration, which he could have made at any time in his presidency, or just use the powers, but he's going to have to go to a court now and say, it's an emergency that I not follow the law I just signed.
No, I hear you. You're a lawyer, so I think you make a very good point. It's going to take, 2 or 3 years through appeals and through the Supreme Court. Can he build on the way? Can he? He's already doing it in parts, isn't he?
That was going to be my column next week. He could have, but I think the signing of this bill puts him in a much, let me just put it this way, puts him in a much more difficult position. I mean, insane court. The courts may love America more than they hate Trump at some point and say, yes, you can do this, but he has made his argument, I will put it gently, very, very difficult now. He just signed a bill saying he can't build a wall on the border, and now he's going to say it's an emergency, I have to build a wall on the border. But yes, of course the president, some district court judge in Hawaii can't, I mean, he can dress up like president when he goes home, but he can't assume the powers of the presidency.
Well, but the problem with the justice in Hawaii is he'll have to get the message to us by carrier pigeon if Occasional Cortex has her way. That's my pet name is Alex Occasional Cortex. Let me shift to that because I know you probably have some comments to make about this one. What do you think about Alexandria or Alex Occasional Cortex's idea for no air travel, trains on the ocean? What do you think about the Green New Deal, Ann Coulter?
Well, I will say my views are evolving because if my country is going to be wrecked by the plutocrats who wanted the cheap labor and don't give a crap about the United States of America, there really isn't. I mean, you're in California. Does anybody care about California politics? We are looking at a future in which Republicans can never win. The Democrats, I mean, they're just going to pack the court. Who even cares about Kavanaugh? That victory means meaningless now. As soon as it's President, Kamala Harris or Cory Booker, they're just going to pack the court. They don't care about the Constitution. Your Second Amendment rights are about to be gone. I would recommend that patriots start buying guns now because in another few years they're going to ignore the Second Amendment. Okay, so, who did this to us? I think the only fun people like you and I are going to be able to have over the next to the end of our lives now is taking vengeance on the people who wrecked our country.
Well, I live in California, which is let's say it's a one-party state.
Yeah.
It's either Democrat, Socialist, Communist, Maoist.
Right.
Or let's say if you like Lenin, you could be a Leninist. Those are your choices in the political structure here.
The state that gave us Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon cannot elect a Republican now. We are looking at coming fairly soon here in the United States of America. So, toward taking vengeance on the people who wrecked my country, the one idea AOC has that I think is fantastic is a wealth tax. And I want to make sure she knows where the Koch brothers keep their money.
Wait, but hold on. Slow down now. I earned every penny I ever earned, and I pay very high taxes. If you're talking about an Amazon tax or you're talking about people who pay no taxes, I would agree with you. But the average American who pays legitimate taxes, no matter how wealthy they are not getting away with anything. We're supporting the whole country.
Yes, I know you are, and I'm sorry there are going to be some civilian casualties in this plan. But I think you and I will do much better than I want the Koch brothers, the Chamber of Commerce.
How are we going to do better? You do very well as an author. You're going to want to pay them even more? You want to pay more? You want to pay more money to the illegal alien lobby called the Democrat Party?
Of course not, but the country's over, and now all I care about is vengeance.
Oh, come on, you don't think it's over. You're not that much of a pessimist, Dan. You got more fight left in you.
How does America not go the way of California now? Give me any scenario.
Of
America not becoming California. We didn't even discuss, I mean, you adverted to it, but this is worse than amnesty, this bill. Any illegal immigrants already here can stay. It is the government has been prohibited from spending money on deporting any illegal immigrant who offers to be a, quote, sponsor of an illegal alien.
Wait, are you saying that's in this new emergency bill?
Yeah.
You've actually gotten a copy of it?
Not the emergency bill, the bill he signed this morning, the spending bill.
That little thing, the $22 trillion one.
Yep. By the way, the Smithsonian gets $1 billion. Just to show this isn't about money. Let's take cash out and burn it just to show we don't care about the money. We just don't want to.
Well, I'm worried about the Weimar Republic, where I'm going to need a wheelbarrow to buy a bottle of wine. If this keeps up of cash.
But we have a few years of enjoying the cheap labor.
I had Steve Forbes on today. I'm interviewing him for about a flat tax, and for my podcast. It's amazing. He says the revenue would actually go up with a flat tax because those on the bottom would actually have to pay something.
I'm sorry. This is like Krista McAuliffe having a cookie before the spaceship blows up. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about flat taxes.
Come on, Ann. You're getting so depressed. You don't believe in the future. Stop it.
In other words, last week, Gallup took a poll. 42 million Latin Americans currently right now would prefer to live in America. Any of them can get in, and the government, under the bill that Trump signed this morning, is prohibited from spending any money on deporting them. They say, I am going to be a sponsor of a small child. So it will not only encourage human trafficking, bring in the kids, drag the kids in. This is an amnesty not only for the illegals already here, but for the 42 million who want to come.
Hasta la vista, hombre.
Yeah.
And do you speak Spanish yet?
I like the yet. Well, I guess I'll be learning.
Ann Coulter, always a pleasure. The show is very abbreviated now, owing to my inflammatory rhetoric. So I have to say, hasta la vista, Ann. Thank you for being with us on the Savage Nation. What a great interview. We'll have to have Ann Coulter on more. I was one of the first to have Laura Ingraham on radio. By the way, you go back to my early shows. I had Laura on, then I had Ann on. I had all of the great women of the conservative side on in the beginning. And it was a pleasure to have Ann Coulter on right now. Do I have time for one quick call?